Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the new Warfan Stance, Votive Onslaught that came with the new Corpus Railjack update. This mod is obtained from caches on the Venus, Neptune, Pluto Proxima tiles on the B rotation with a 9.09% drop chance. Being only our second Warfan Stance, it's nice to have something different for a change, besides the slicing feather one. This was probably intentional, as up to this point we've only had 3 Warfans in the game, being Gunson, Quasis, and Aram Spinoza, with the latter two being very recent additions with Deimos. So what do we know about the 3 Warfans? Well, I went over Quasis and Aram Spinoza previously. If you want to see my review on these two weapons, check out the 2 cards above for my thoughts. Quasis is basically relegated to a heavy weapon. Like Aram Spinoza, it produces 12 knives on the heavy throw. However, these knives also have infinite punch through and are 4 slash procs on every knife. You can very easily apply tens of slash procs instantly against enemies with it. The weapon is also crit focused, meaning you can produce crazy high DOTs with a slash. Recently, DE patched the heavy throw animation to not lunge forward as much, improving its quality of life significantly. However, this is not tied to the new stance and is universal. Aram Spinoza is the opposite counterpart, focused entirely on status. It too also throws knives, however they do not force proc slash. This makes the standard viral build not viable. This also makes the heavy attack throw build not viable. Alternatively, you can heavy build for corrosive and heat, but the kill rate just isn't there since there aren't enough procs and the hits are too few to make up for it. Up until Votive Onslaught's release, your only option was slicing feathers. This was a clunky stance, meaning there was no way for Aram Spinoza to take advantage of its constant viral procs with normal attacks either. The lack of proper range on the stance also meant it can't spread status effectively, limiting both the effectiveness of its viral procs and also reducing its kill rate. It also has nearly non-existent crit chance with a below average crit multiplier. This places Aram Spinoza in a really bad spot, where the heavy build is completely overshadowed by Quasis, and the normal attack build underperforms due to clunkiness, lack of slash, and lack of range. Finally, we have Gunson, the original Warfan. This is a Warfan done right for normal attack gameplay. Quasis completely overshadows for heavy throw builds due to the force slash, so the fact that Gunson can't throw knives is irrelevant. It has the fastest attack speed out of all 3 Warfans, but significantly less base damage. This is fine though. Yes, it has lackluster crit compared to Quasis, but it's still twice as high as Aram Spinoza, making it actually crit viable and reaches guaranteed yellows with a fair chance of oranges with a max stacked blood rush. This can still be pushed further with the Gladiator set though. It still retains very high status and an 80% slash bias on its IPS, making a viral slash setup perfect for it and bypassing armor. This alone is what makes it capable of scaling into endless, whereas Aram Spinoza fails despite having much higher status. The only downside? Its highest attack speed of all Warfans was still impaired by the clunkiness and range problems of the slicing feather stance. As Gunson is the most suited for normal attacks of the 3 Warfans, today we will be using it as the guinea pig to compare differences between the old slicing feather stance and the new Votive Onslaught. Let's start by taking a look at the stance combos available, side by side. I pulled these directly from the wiki, so you can see the damage and typing modifiers the hits have, such as forced procs. The first thing you'll notice is the average percent damage per second on the new stance is higher for the most part on the combos compared to Slicing Feather. The block combo on Slicing Feather is also quite slow, with only 2 attacks and only comes out to 372% damage per second. In contrast, every single combo on Votive Onslaught has a higher percent damage per second than any combo on Slicing Feathers, except Razorfin. You'll also notice the forward melee and blocking combo of Slicing Feathers only has 3 and 2 hits respectively, but take nearly as long as the 4-hit combos Votive Onslaught has for the same combo motion. Also, the forward melee and block melee of Slicing Feathers have only 6 and 3 damage instances respectively, whereas the same on Votive Onslaught has 10 and 8 damage instances. Not only does more hits mean more chances to proc status, but it also makes the gameplay feel much snappier and smoother for feedback response. The fast length of combos on Votive also mean the extra attacks don't feel too drawn out or locked in without control. Now let's try out the stances for ourselves. I'm going to take a look at the combos individually first, we'll mix them together later. So our first combo is Purging Drive. This is the neutral E attack where you just basically spam E as much as you want. The first attack composes of 2 swings with the fan simultaneously and can hit twice. The second swing is 2 separate attacks. Then you have the third swing, which is a little bit of a twirl and takes a little bit longer to execute. But the big part of this combo is the fourth swing, where you have 4 separate hits in that attack. It's very hard to see all of the hits, but the final hit is 300%, knocks down, and forks proc slash. So this is very, very lethal. You can see here me testing it on the heavy gunners, produces 4 damage number, so it really is 4 hits even though you can't see it. Now let's test Purging Drive on them. Well, 1 round of the combo seems to be enough to kill them, not immediately, but the ticks easily finish them off. The actual hits do a decent amount of damage, I'd say taking about half or more of their health. So let's take a look at it one more time. So long as you can connect that last hit on the 4th attack, it just really powers and you'll get the most out of Purging Drive. This combo propels you forward a decent amount, but it's still pretty snappy. You may have to reposition the camera from time to time though to make sure you keep hitting the enemies you want. The next combo on our list is Clarion Rush, the forward melee combo. This is a very, very fast attack that consists of a couple of horizontal swipes, which means it has a decent amount of range. You can hit a bunch of enemies at once with this. It's actually a total of 10 separate hits, meaning it is insane for proccing slash. You can see each attack ramps up with 1, 2, 3, and then 4 hits. Although it doesn't have any force proc slash attacks like the first combo, the sheer number of hits is what lets you pile on the natural slash attacks. You can also see this combo is very, very fast at 1.84 seconds, so although the average damage per second isn't that high because all the multipliers are only at 100%, this one is a very, very good way to pile on the slash in a wide area. I would say this probably works very well for a mid combo in the string of your attacks. You can see how quickly it piles on the ticks, and although the damage is weak, the heavy gunners die even faster than the Purging Drive. So I'm probably going to use this into the knock-up combos later on. Now the third combo is Penitent Offering. This is the guard block combo where you hold right mouse by default when attacking. It consists of a couple of slower swings with a sweeping uppercut that launches your enemy upwards into a knockup. This is a very useful combo for very specific scenarios, such as when you're facing tanky enemies to make sure they can't get away and can't attack back. The only issue with this combo is, as you can see if you go through the whole thing, the second knockup will send them flying if they're already knocked. It does refresh the duration, but will make it a little bit hard to keep them on combo, so you may not want to go through the whole combo for this reason. For regular enemies though, this attack does hit hard enough that you can pretty much shred them, with the extra damage percent scaling on the knockups translating into heavy slash ticks if it procs. I would say its best usage is probably for the final follow-up on any other combos you used beforehand. This way you can preserve the slash ticks that you spam before, but then knock them up in the air for the rest of the ticks so they can't fight back as they bleed out. I would probably use Penitent as a follow-up after Clarion Rush or maybe Purging Drive. Finally, we have our forward block combo, Rending Lamentation. Now this combo is very good at closing distance, but makes you travel a lot even after the first attack, so I wouldn't say it's that suitable for attacking crowds, but you can use it to close the gap hopping between enemies, or if you just want to initiate the attack sooner. The first attack is extremely fast with 2 separate hits with a decent multiplier, leading into the second attack that consists of 3 separate hits with a very heavy multiplier and a vertical hitbox. This will let you hit enemies that may be too high up or a little bit too low. Then the third attack is another extremely heavy 3-hit move. Finally, you're following it up with another double hit knockup. It is also a little bit on the clunkier side, but it still has nice range, which the normal E attack kind of lacks. So you may want to try using this one if you feel like it. It is a bit long for my taste and it does lock you into the combo, so I'll probably only use it to hop into the next mob and cut the combo short. Purging Drive and Clarion Rush are the bread and butter of this stance. Purging Drive has way higher DPS than the neutral from Slicing Feathers, and also has a much shorter animation time. Clarion Rush is a massive bleed proc spam with enormous horizontal range and scarily fast animations at 1.84 seconds for 10 hits. These are the two you will most likely be alternating between to clear mobs. For dealing with heavier units, you will probably want to initiate bleeds with Clarion Rush first, and then follow up the target with Penitent Offering to knock them up into the lifted status, preventing counterfire and allowing the full bleed to play out. Careful on the second knockup though, you don't want to throw them too far away from the fight. Penitent's slower attacks, despite having good horizontal range, means it's more suitable for tanky unit clearing, instead of widespread use for mobbing throughout the tile. Rending Lamentation is most likely only used for traveling from one mob group to another if they're in range. This means you probably won't be using it much. As previously shown, the lunge hit only has a hitbox at the end, and not through the total distance traveled itself, severely limiting its utility. Overall, I would say this stance is a massive improvement over slicing feathers. It just feels fun to play. The combos are fluid and flow well into another. The main neutral and forward combos aren't slow and clunky like the old Warfan Stance, and have very high amount of hits for bleed procs. Purging Drive, the neutral E, also has one of the highest DPS of any stance combo in the game. Combined with this, it still retains the 10 hit string for bleeds, and has quite good horizontal coverage on the second and third hit. The first attack is narrow, but it's a simultaneous double hit, which is handy. The fourth attack is narrow again, but it probably has the fastest 4 hit in the game. My verdict? A very solid stance that finally lets Warfan stand up against the other weapon types. If this is your first time watching, feel free to leave a like or, better yet, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. 71.9% of you are not subscribed this time. You might want to tap that button if you don't want to miss out on any future tips and tricks from me in covering the new mainlines as well as when Tempest Starry comes out. That'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching and see you all next time.